てか猫いただいたって。変態だ。
No, just no.
We opened on our heroines enjoying a day in the park where they seemed to be very lax on the fire safety laws. Of course, they were grilling up some more of those death mushrooms, but we're also gonna have some fish that Nero was catching. The latter was more meant for Kamaboko, as they didn't want to feed him mushrooms, even though from what I can tell, they are safe for cats, but it is also supposedly bad to encourage them to seek out wild mushrooms, so they were kinda justified, even though they were more likely just wanting to stuff their own faces. And sure enough, it probably wasn't a good idea to take their eyes off the kitty.
Truckun was running a little late today.
Fortunately, they were saved by a couple of toy users who completely bisected the truck, and yeah, I'm pretty sure the driver should be dead no matter what Milky Holmes says here. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if these lines were ad-libbed by the voice actresses, as we never actually see their faces. Now, I'm guessing someone on staff was fond of the old DBZ dub.
I can see their parachutes. They're okay.
As for the toy users, who look like Wish.com's Haruka and Michiru, yeah, I'm kind of with Nero on this crowd. I mean, for one thing, I always did think Full House was a waste of time.
Yeah, like where the hell is Ashley? Yeah, don't really care for Elizabeth, especially after Multiverse of Madness.
They part ways with the ladies who could ice skate on dry ground in heels, and no, this had nothing to do with their toys that we'll see in just a bit. Still, our heroines were sipping hard for the two because...
the most base magical girls ever.
They figured they must have been some sort of elite detectives or something, but not surprisingly, these one-off characters with exceptional powers turned out to be antagonists, specifically Phantom Thieves who were looking to take Kamaboko. They were, however, not associated with the Empire, as they thankfully dealt with 20, who was having his idea of a self-sustain, I guess. And while we wouldn't learn what Mary's toys was until a little later in this episode, through just a quick bit of dialogue, we learned that Kate had essentially Rikito Sato's Sugar Rush quirk.
Hold on, just making sure that the studio's soundproof. Okay, not gonna have to deal with any chocolate-triggered fish today.
They almost managed to capture the kitty, but were stopped by Milky Holmes and were forced to play along with them lest they raise suspicions. And while it actually would have been interesting to have Nero be the only member of our heroines who saw the two as sus, she was unfortunately turned into just as much a simp through the use of the cacao product. This resulted in a pretty fun little cat and thief chase in which they managed to eventually capture Kamaboko. Our heroines quickly noticed that their pet was gone and thus tried to look for him the next day. They even managed to get permission from Henriette to skip their afternoon classes in order to hone their pet finding skills.
By the way, this story, as you could even tell by the show's opening title screen, is based very loosely on a Sherlock Holmes short story called The Case of an Identity.
In it, Holmes was tasked with uncovering the identity of a mysterious fiancé to a lady named Mary Sutherland, and by the end of the story, the dude named Hosmer Angel stood her up at the altar. Now, obviously, the Mary of this story references Sutherland, while Kate was there mostly just to make that Olsen twin reference, and probably throw in some Yuri because why the hell not? Though, as for the groom, as it turned out, this story's version of the character was why they were after Kamaboko.
Huh?
Yeah, Ginger really let himself go.
But yeah, for whatever reason, the animation here where they were torturing Kamaboko was a little better than usual, which, you know, just seems a tad bit unneeded for a scene like this. I mean, sure, by the end it was revealed that they were just dueling on his face, but still, that does fall under animal cruelty.
Like, can we just get some more acceptable targets? That'll do.
So yeah, the three cards had tracked down the catnappers for trespassing on their master's territory, leading to a pretty awesome fight between the thieves where they actually used the good animation for some much better purposes. I mean, let's be honest here, some of the coolest fights in anything are more often between villains who hold no alliance between each other, and in the case of many detective stories, the phrase "no honor among thieves" applies. Granted, the three cards were more on the right, not just because they weren't mistreating any small animals, but because they also were doing JoJo poses, so you know they have much better taste than these two.
Yeah, you'll know just because he dresses up like Kazuma Kiryu doesn't guarantee he's gonna have Takia Kuroda's sexy ass voice.
This was also one of the few times where 20 was legit kind of entertaining with his narcissistic antics, as at the very least he did take off his shirt on purpose, and the gag of his precious self-husbando pillow taking the bullet for him was hilarious. During all this, Kamaboko managed to escape and Milky Holmes were reunited with their kitty. Of course, they assumed Mary and Kate had rescued him and thanked them personally, pointing the cat right back in the line of danger. And it was here that we finally got to see Mary's toys, which was your typical, yet still very effective, pressure point detecting ability. Though since they didn't want to tell anyone that they were already dead, they were more like acupuncture points, meaning...
Thanks for doing my job for me. Well, could still add a little something to that.
I've been violated.
With that, Kamaboko was open for the taking, as Milky Holmes thought he wanted to thank them for finding him. However, Rat was still around, at least tried to get the last laugh, but quick deflection from a cat sent him and his friends blasting off again. Realizing that the kitty who just saved them was, of course, nothing like their former lover, the two gave up on trying to seek their vengeance vicariously through animal mistreatment. With that, the episode ended with them sailing off to really hammer home how these two were Haruka and Michiru at home.
This was a fun little outing, mostly thanks to these one-off antagonists.
Mary and Kate were not only easy on the eyes, but pretty entertaining femme fatales. They had some enjoyably over-the-top personalities and a pretty hilarious backstory.
And yeah, while kitty mistreatment of any sort should be frowned upon, at least it was kept short, and we were able to just get back to the fun of the Yuri Thieves in action.
Compared to the last episode, this one was a lot more loosely based on the adventures of Sherlock Holmes, unless he dealt with a furry gigachad that I was unaware of. Still, taking the concept of a woman named Mary being stood up by a jerk-ass suitor and expanding upon it into this was quite the venture in its own right. Mary and Kate were a fun parody of the very openly Yuri couple, clearly taking notes from several sources alongside the aforementioned Our Senshi. Though they also seem to be bi, as they tried to marry the same guy who left them and filled them with an irrational desire for revenge. As a result, they also acted as good foils to the three cards and their obsession with arsene. This would also be a good way of establishing how phantom thief groups of this world wouldn't necessarily work together, especially when there's only so much to steal and simp for. The Thieves really stole this episode, which unfortunately left our protagonist out in the cold. Bit of a shame because a lot of the fun of this series does come from the antics of Milky Holmes that'll be especially apparent in the next episode. Still, for this one overall, it was still a fun time for the villains and their antics. Whoever these guys are simping for, there's always going to be some laughs for us to have at least.
And thankfully, this turned out to be a bit of an easier weekly video to do. As you can probably tell, I'm still kind of recovering from this bug. I think I'm just about over it, so hopefully we'll be back at our usual non-sick output by this weekend. So look forward to it. And until then, though, for now, my friends, and oh, looks like someone turned off the friction. I mean, it's the only way I can explain how these two were able to do it.